Your typical podcast.
Thank you for listening to Your Typical Podcast. I'm Donnie, per usual, and I'm super excited for our guest today. It's kind of just came from Instagram and me just DM people as I do. And what are your pronouns?
My pronouns are they, them, theirs, but also whatever,
They. Mhm.
whatever.
Well, they are on the podcast to join us to talk about all things theater. We'll get into Cats, the Jellicle Ball. So please welcome Cooper Howell, like the moon, to the podcast.
Yes,
Welcome.
yes. Thank you, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I love how random this was that this all worked out. But if there's something my neurodivergent ass loves to do, it's to talk. So
Me too.
I am here. I'm ready. Okay,
Mhm.
let's go.
I'm very appreciative of you saying yes to being on the podcast. It's just one of those like passion projects that I have to specifically talk to other artists. I think sometimes I'll talk to like people who are just like friends or like something that happened, but particularly the artists that I bring on the podcast, I feel like I get the most out of just talking, getting to know them and kind of like comparing paths and getting some advice and all these things. So I'm excited to have you here for sure.
Good to be here. It's good to be here.
How I like to start every episode is telling people how we're connected. I know like ours is probably a little untraditional than everyone else has been on the podcast, at least recently. I know that you're mutual friends with Adam and DJ,
Yes,
correct?
Adam Otis Rubin and DJ Gray. Yes. So I met Adam Otis Rubin because I was a part of National Queer Theater for a couple of years. I still am. Huge fans of theirs, big fan of Adam's. And I did their Criminal Queerness Festival in 2020. I want to say it was 2023 that I did it. Yeah. I did a production for them, and then I did another production for them. Of a play they did called Camp Manapia, which was
Mhm.
so fun. It was about like a conversion therapy camp, but it was a comedy. It was very fun. While doing that show, I met DJ Gray, who is a friend of Adam's, and I thought DJ was super cute.
I met Adam and DJ in the same setting. I guess not at the same time, but like similar times. We were all part of this theater alliance called the Pride Youth Theater Alliance,
Yes, I've heard of
which
this.
was actually National Queer Theater was a part of that, and
Yes.
DJ's group that he worked with in Virginia was also a part of that. So essentially, like all these youth theaters will meet once a year to kind of share best practices, like connect the youth, all the things. So it's kind of funny because I met DJ when I was a youth in the program. This was before I met Adam, and I distinctly remember DJ like, "I'm turning 30. My life is over." Like that was like the conversations we were having. I'm like, wow, I can't wait till I'm that age.
Crazy.
And here I am, 30 now.
Are
My
you
big age
30,
at
like
30.
30?
Yeah,
Okay, you're a
30.
baby. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, your
Yeah.
30s are amazing.
I know. I'm so excited. I just turned 30 in February, so I'm just trying to take it all in, be open to like what life is throwing at me and like unfolding and
Mm.
kind of following the path. And then as I said, similarly, I met Adam in the same way, I think a different year in a city. I can't even tell you where, but met Adam in that Pride Youth Theater Alliance, and then one year all three of us were there. And yeah, they're like my two New York friends. I have other friends there, but love them both. And I think it's kind of a fun connection because I knew of you through DJ because I remember when I saw Cats at Pack NYC, is that where it
Mhm,
was
mhm,
originally? He was
mhm.
talking about like, oh, like my friend Cooper, and I was like, oh, like how do you know them? And he said that he met you through Adam. So then when I saw you on Instagram, I was like, oh, this is the Cooper they're talking about. So it's fun to put a face to the name, and
Here
now I
I
get to
am.
know you. Hopefully, we get to be friends too. Hopefully,
Are
I'll
we
steal
not
your
friends
football for them.
already? Let's just,
We are.
can't we just decide to be friends now?
We'll lock it
Okay.
in right now, like
Okay,
friends.
yes. Yes, I love that. That feels so good. All right.
So you're a theater person, as am I. I'm curious to know like when did your love of theater start? Like, what was the catalyst of that got you on the path that you're on now?
I don't even remember when I started liking theater. It's just always been a part of my life. My dad was a theater critic. My mom is a theater critic. My mom is an actress. So growing up, we just our entire movie collection was, like, old MGM musicals. I think, like, one of my earliest memories is performing, the barn raising dance from Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. I, like, had it memorized, and there's home videos of me, like, with putting, like, a shirt backwards, but, like, on my head to make it look like long
Yeah.
hair, and I
Mhm.
knew all of the girls', parts of the barn raising dance or whatever of Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, just dancing around and, like, having all of the stuff memorized, and my parents taught me how to read, literally taught me how to read by taking the inside jacket of CDs,
Mhm.
like, of original Broadway casts, and I learned how to read from reading the plot synopsis of, like, all these different
That's so
musicals,
cool.
and I had a CD player next to my bed, and every night I had, like, extreme ADHD growing up, I still do, but part of, like, what would calm me down at night was just, like, listening to music, so they would put on whatever plot synopsis I would read that night, they would put it on, they put that soundtrack on next to my bed, and I spent my whole childhood looking up at the glow in the dark stars on my bedroom ceiling and thinking about what the musical I was listening to looked like. My
Mhm.
whole life, I've just been, like, basically raised to visualize stage pictures and stories and story arcs and characters, and it's always been a part of my life, and then when I was 6, we moved from California to Connecticut, and every single Saturday from 1994 to 2000, my family would, take me into and my younger brother into the city, and we would see a different Broadway production. So, between 1994 and 2000, I must have seen, like, a lot. I think I've seen a lot, like, the big, heavy theater hitters there. So it's just always, always, always been a part of my life. I also remember my mom, when we lived in California, she was, part of something called the Birdcage Theater, which was like a Wild West saloon show that they did at Knott's Berry Farm. They have, like, a Wild
Mhm.
West section of the theme park, and I remember going and seeing my mom perform, like, these, like, really melodramatic old saloon style shows. Like, I remember her getting tied to the tracks by someone with a mustache
Oh,
and
that's cool,
all
yeah.
sorts of stuff, and just being like, "Wow, I love that. I love this." So, it's just always been a part of my
I
life.
love that. You have, like, a theater family, like, this.
Totally.
Um, if you saw, like, so many shows, like, growing up, do you have a favorite that, like, stuck out to you that's like, "Okay, I need to be on that stage tomorrow?"
Of, like, productions I saw in my past?
Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, I remember my parents taking me to see the original production of Parade in, like, 1999 or something like that. I was way too young to see it for sure, but it was one of the first shows I ever saw with, like, a deeply unhappy ending. And I didn't even know, having, like, truly been raised on Disney, I just didn't even know that it was in the realm of possibilities to tell a tragic story, and I remember crying all the way out of the theater. I remember I think we got ice cream or something, and I was, like, starting to, like, calm down, and some stranger I was like knelt down and was like, "Oh, are you okay? What's wrong?" And I remember bursting back into tears because I was trying to explain the story of what I just saw, and I remember the power that tragedy had in, like, and attaching that feeling of heaviness and tragedy to the art of storytelling, and thinking that that is such a cool thing to do, that I could, like, really that is possible to create something that can emotionally devastate people.
Yeah.
Really rad.
I mean, that's me too. Whenever I see something, I'm like, either make me really happy or, like, wreck me. I wanna walk out like devastated, so
Yeah,
sad.
make me
I
feel
think
something.
Mhm.
Huh?
I think that's something to, like, say to, like, the you didn't even understand that, like, stories didn't have to end happy, and I think that's, like,
Yeah.
such a I don't know, I feel like once you get to that point in, like, art, consuming art, you're like, "Okay, like, there's so much more than just, like, the cookie cutter, like, oh, yay,
Mm,
everyone's happy ending." Is why I like Disney, and I don't wanna, like, rag on myself or anything too much, but, like, that was something that I never related to growing up with watching Disney movies where I'm like, "It just feels, like, not realistic enough." Like, I don't know.
yeah.
I need something more. I need something more.
Yeah, and I think with Disney, a lot of times the purpose of those entertainments is to entertain us, but
Yeah.
when you realize that entertainment can also teach you something deep to teach you a lesson, like, remember watching Pocahontas for the first time? It's the same thing, remember? When he's like, "Come with me," and she's like, "I can't." And they, like, split ways, and she runs up that mountain with the violin music playing, and she wind goes to him at the top of the mountain, and the leaves blow through her hair, and they're, like,
Mhm.
never to be seen again. It's like being so young and being like, "Wow, there are more important things to life than, like, romantic love." Like,
Yeah.
sacrifices is so deep, but, it is so cool to think that there are certain forms of entertainment, like theater especially, where you can go and you can sit down and you can get such a good show and clap your hands and, "Wow, wow, 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 I'm having such a good time." And then they, like, Trojan horse, like, this message into you, and it lasts with you for forever. I'll never forget the feeling that I walked out of I was 9, I think, walking out of Parade and just being like, "Ouch, my soul hurts."
That was me when I saw Next to Normal for the first time. I think I was in high school, and, like, just the plot twist, and you're like, "Okay." I'm like, "I can't stop crying." Like, you're
Yeah,
like
when the sun is dead. Yeah,
yeah. You're
yeah,
like, "Oh god, no."
yes.
Uh, when I was growing up, I kinda have the opposite of you where truthfully, like, theater was never really a big part of, like, my life. Despite that, ended up at, like, a performing arts high school, so surrounded by theater, but I do remember as a kid, like, my mom's favorite movie was The Wiz, so the one, like, Diana
My
Ross and
god, I
Michael
love The
Jackson,
Wiz.
me too. I was obsessed with it as a kid, and, like, I distinctly remember, like, like, I feel like sometimes with, like, Black families, it's either you get, like, the musical family or, like, we don't we don't do that, like, we're not
Uh,
listening to that around here.
what do you think that no.
I don't know, like, even now, like, my family, I can get them to come to, like, a play, but, like, if I'm ever being, like or, like, this perfect example where I decided to this was a few years ago when The Color Purple came out on, like, Christmas, and I was like, "Oh, like, mom, we should go, like, I love this musical," and she's like, "Cool, let's do it," and then my aunt was like, "Oh, I wanna come," then my sister's like, "I wanna come," and then literally, like, halfway out, they're walking out of the movie, and I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" And they're like, "We didn't know it was a musical," and I'm like, "It has Fantasia Barrino in it, what do you
Yeah,
mean?" Like, she
yeah.
it doesn't make sense. But I just don't know what the apprehension is in that realm. But honestly, like, it was interesting for me growing up because I kind of defined it myself of like, okay, The Wiz was something that was in my household, but like, it was something that was acceptable. And then like I remember watching Dreamgirls, that was another one that kind of was like just always pop up, and it wasn't until high school when actually my first show was The Wiz that I ever did, but then,
Wow.
like, in high school, like, being surrounded by actual theater people, I was like, "Wow, what is this?" Like, "What is Hairspray? What is" in the Heights, we did in high school as well, I was like, "What is that? I've never heard of this show in my life. What is Wicked? Who is that?" And I learned all these things just by being around like-minded people and really realized, "Oh, crap, like, that's where I probably should be." Like,
Hmm.
at our high school, you had to choose a major. So, like, I sillily like, looking back at it now, it didn't make sense, but I was a creative writing major. But, like, I'm like, "I probably should have been a theater major." Like, that was my true calling, and I was too shy and nervous to ever, like, think of myself at 14 in a performing way, but even now, I'm like if I just did that, who knows where I'll be. So I like that
Creative
the
writing's
path.
awesome too.
It is, but like
We
looking
need
back
creative
at it now,
writers.
I hate writing. I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
why.
Well, it's hard as hell, that's why. It is hard.
Mhm. I just don't have the attention span.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible, and it's like, I think the Ernest Hemingway quote is like, "Writing is easy, you just have to step in front of your typewriter and bleed," you know? It's
Mhm.
hard. It's so hard.
Yeah. And the worst thing about writing, at least that I experienced, was writing is easy when you feel inspired and you feel like, oh, like there's something that I want to write about. I think the hardest part was writing on demand, like writing because
Yes.
someone wants you to write, whether you're getting paid for it, whether it's for work. I'm like, who could do that? Like, Sarah Bareilles, like, "I can't write you a love song." Like, I don't know. Like, I don't got it in me right now. That was me. I could not do that. So it really definitely, like, shifted when I went to college, and I was like, "You know what? I'm a theater person through and through. I think I know that's what I want." And that just kind of, like, shifted my path of, like, actually doing shows and gaining more confidence and all the things that you do when you perform.
Mm,
You did performing before you started directing and producing, yes? Or
I
do you
did.
do a little
Yeah.
bit both?
I have full
Um,
retired from acting now, yeah.
okay.
Yes.
What was the shift then from performing to directing? Like, what made
Yeah.
you step into that world?
I mean, I always wanted to be a director, but every director I had ever heard of and knew were people that went and got master's degrees in college. And academia is just not my thing. It just really is not my thing. Like, sort of like you with creative writing, there's nothing more painful on this planet than having to write a paper. Like, I can't think of anything I hate more than having to write a paper. Like, especially with, like, MLA or ALA or whatever format and, like, a bibliography, like, oh my god, kill me
Yeah.
right now. I hate it, and I just remember in my undergrad just sitting in the library and wanting to die, like having to write these papers about things that I didn't care about. I just
Mhm.
oh my god, I hate it, so much, and the other type of directors I knew were the ones that were, actors that were able to leverage their star whatever power into becoming directors, like Joe Mantello, who directed Wicked, is very much that, or, Michael Arden now is that, you know? So, I thought, "Okay, I will use acting as my ticket to be able to direct," and I feel like I'm very good at acting, and I did a lot of very cool projects and very cool things, and I've been singing my whole life. I grew up Mormon. I grew up in Utah, and so, like, everyone that's Mormon in Utah, everyone takes voice lessons, everyone takes dance classes, and, I love performing, I love it. However, I just get, A, I get very bored having to tell the same story every night, and
Yeah.
B, having grown up Mormon, being gay and non-binary as half black in Utah, and if you're half black in Utah, you're full black. I was like the only other black person I had ever met. I knew like 2 other black people, but I didn't like get to know another person of color until I was 22 years old. 'Cause that's Utah, right? And so there was this constant feeling of having to prove myself to my community that I was religious enough, conservative enough, that I loved God enough, that I was straight enough, that I was heterosexual enough, whatever. Like I was always auditioning for everybody. And that at a certain point, I just in my late 20s, it was like I feel like my entire life has been one giant audition, and it doesn't feel like I'm good enough for anybody, and I started to just go on this path of, like, I need to be good enough for me. You know, what is it that I love about myself? How do I show up for myself? If I have a successful day, what does that look like to me? And starting to base my own life on my own perception and decisions that I am making, my own judgments of myself rather than anybody else's. And so the audition circuit as an actor started to feel like an extension of this childhood religious trauma that I had escaped from. And with auditioning, you know, it's horrible. You go into a room and you take a lot of time out of your day to study, to memorize these sides. You go into a room, you do the sides, and it doesn't matter how you feel about it. Some of my worst auditions I've ever had, I've booked full leads for, and some of the best auditions I've ever had, I didn't even get a call back for. Specifically, I remember like a real turning point for me was Hamilton. When Hamilton came out, 2015, I was like, "Oh my god, finally!" A play with like black and brown and mixed race people who are dancing the way I know how to dance, who can rap because I know how to rap, who all of the vocal ranges like fit me like a glove. It was like I have like 5 or 6 roles I can play in this show, and I had 20 auditions and not a single call back for it. And in that time, I played Usnavian in the Heights. I did the LA premiere of Spamilton playing Lin-Manuel Miranda as Hamilton. And so I did like everything around the periphery of Hamilton, but I didn't get Hamilton, and everyone else around me was getting Hamilton. My understudy in Spamilton booked Hamilton immediately after our show, and it just made my self-esteem just crumble. And a lot of people thrive on the audition circuit, but I just couldn't do it anymore. And I was in the middle of the workshops for Cats the Jellicle Ball. Actually, I was the original Rum Tum Tugger in
That's awesome.
and after the second workshop, I had an experience where they had us all come in to re-audition for the third workshop, and I woke up sick that day, and my audition was at 10:40 in the morning. And I went in, and at the time, they were remixing all of the music to sounds like they were going to completely reorchestrate all the score, and the Rum Tum Tugger song was reorchestrated to sound like "Kiss" by Prince. So it was full of these, like, high, like,
Yeah.
falsetto, like, screamy things, and I grew up listening to
Not
Prince.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Prince is everything. That Purple Rain album is like, if I had to, be sent to a desert island, I could choose 4 things. One of them would be the Purple Rain album. And so I had those, and the whole team knew I had those things. But I went in that day, a little scratch in my throat, and I went to hit those notes that I always had, and they just were not there for me that day. And the music director at the time was like, "No, I need someone who can do it 8 times a week." And so I didn't get it. And they actually came back and offered me a different part. But that experience felt like a sign from God for me that it was like, okay,
Yeah.
I actually I can't do this anymore. I really want to live a life where I am going towards the kinds of things that I feel like I was here on this planet to do, which is to direct and produce and write. Like I really deeply have always known that. And this acting thing it's really catered for superhumans, and for certain types of people. And I am not it does not make me happy. And so after the 3rd workshop of Cats, I switched, and they asked there was an opening for the assistant director, and so I applied and got the job, and then they promoted me to associate, and then now I'm, essentially the resident director, on Broadway now, so I got 2 promotions, which is amazing. And
That's
yeah,
awesome.
everything kinda works out, you know? If you pay attention to the universe, everything kind of, like, conspires for you in your favor. And now I watch Sydney, who is the Rum Tum Tugger on Broadway, play Rum Tum Tugger, and he, like, is thriving. He thrives in this, like, 8-show-a-week kinda structure. He thrives in it, so I'm so happy that it all sort of turned out the way that it did.
That's a good story to hear because it's like, okay, even with like some blockades or like barriers on a path, like potentially like not going this way can lead you this way, which is the way
Yeah,
you're supposed to go in the first place. It's something that
yeah,
I always have to tell myself too. Like, even for myself, I moved to Chicago in 2020, so during the pandemic. And
Mhm.
one of like my biggest like gripes is like I was kind of living like that like professional actor life. I had just graduated college. I'm like, you know what? Like I'm booking shows. Oh my gosh. And I totally agree with the like audition circuit, specifically for a person of color, queer,
Yes.
add that on. It's like not for the faint of heart because it's a lot of no's, a lot of you were great. We just don't see you in the show. Sorry.
Yeah.
And it was just something that you can't really compete against either, like, because it has nothing to do with you. So, like, you can go in on your best day, and if they just never envision you in that show in general, like, truthfully, I just did call for Next to Normal like 2 weeks ago,
What
and
part?
it was for the boring p I'm sorry, I didn't say that. But, like, when I did audition for the show, I picture myself and I don't think I'm old enough to play the dad, but I was like, "You know what? Like, I like the boyfriend, I like the dad, I like the son." Like, that's kinda where I feel like my voice lives, and I got called back for the doctor, and I'm like, how surprising, like, you called the black guy back for the doctor role. Okay, so I went to the callback, and I did it, and I, like, was a little apprehensive, and I just did it anyway, and I didn't get the part, which is okay, but then when I saw the cast list, I was like, "Oh, of course I wasn't gonna get the part." Like, look at the cast, it's literally all white people and like
Right.
learning that like the director's boyfriend is like one of the roles and then the owner's sister and her boyfriend. I was like, okay, like there
Right.
was never a role for me in this show.
Right.
And I think it would be so easy to walk away being like, damn, like it's me. Like I can't, well, it's me. But in reality, it's like a lot of times when you don't get casted, it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
uh,
It's
and
so true, but it's so hard for actors to learn that I mean, it's just so hard to not take it personally, you
mhm,
know? Even though you logically know, it's still so hard to not take all those no's and have it not affect you, you know?
yeah.
And
No, in
I
college,
just
that was me. That was
of
me. I
course.
literally, like I recall not getting a role, and and I debated being like, "I need to quit this program." Like, I
Hmm.
cannot believe they did not cast me in this show. I am upset. I wanna quit the program. I don't wanna do this anymore. But you gotta grow the thick skin to, like,
Mhm.
no, it's fine, like and that's kinda how I feel now as an actor, and I do acting when I can, but it's more so like, "Oh, no, it's fine." Like, if something doesn't work out, it wasn't meant for me, and maybe just something else is meant for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
later.
Exactly.
I'm curious to know, so I very much resonated with like your idea of like acting was just not the path that you saw yourself in, but like directing was something that you're like, okay, this is something that makes sense for me. What is like the stark difference between the two, like being on the other side of the table? Do you have like a something that you carry that's like because I've been there, I have the knowledge of this?
I feel like there are what I started to notice, doing so much community theater and regional theater is that that good all good directors had the same 4 things in common. And I feel like those 4 things are, they have good directors have extreme vision.
Mhm,
They are able to articulate their vision. They have amazing people skills, and they are natural dramaturgs. And those 4 things, vision, articulation, people skills, and dramaturgy are 4 qualities that I believe that I have in spades. There's, like, a lot of things that I am bad at in this life, like, you should see me do math. Holy shit, it is crazy, it is so crazy. But I definitely have those 4 things, and when I worked with directors that I didn't like, that I wasn't resonating with, I felt like it was because they had a serious lack of those 4 qualities, and as an actor, it was the more I acted, it would start to drive me crazy standing there in a rehearsal room and watch directors who didn't have all those 4 things try to lead a room. I think another 5th thing is, like, natural leadership skills, and try to, like, lead a room or make decisions about things, and it just, like, it wasn't clicking, and I felt like I kept having to try to hold my tongue and hold my tongue and hold my tongue and hold my tongue. Because as an actor, you're basically just like, I'm your puppet. Here are my thoughts about it, but I'm a puppet, essentially. I'm clay, mold me. How do you want to mold me? Put costumes on me, put me under lights, whatever, and I'll do the thing. But I really like, as an actor, it felt like a very like solo experience. You're part of
Yeah.
a team, but it's really like you and like you're in control of you. But as a director, what's great is being able to really influence a group as a whole and focus on the vibe and the ecosystem around the thing that you're building so that because we've all seen shows where it's like every performance on the stage is in a different play. Everybody's in a different play. But we've also seen those shows where it's like everyone is so tight and in a group. Like I think the greatest compliment you can receive as a director is not a single compliment on a performance. It's just like, I loved the show. I love the show did this. I love the show did that. That everything feels whole. And so I feel like the skill that I really like about directing the most is being able to like get everyone on the same page and having us all create something together as opposed to acting, which is very much like, okay, well, let me go home and memorize my lines by myself, and then let me go and like warm up by myself and let me go on stage and like process or whatever.
I love that. I feel like it's kind of like people might think the opposite by not knowing of like, "Oh, you're the director, you're in charge," when it's like, "No,
Yeah.
I'm working to create the environment where we're all
Yeah.
one team, we're all on the same page." And I
Yeah.
think I agree with you. I can count on I can count on both hands of like the many times I've walked in the room, like, "You are a great director, you have no people skills, and this is not gonna be successful because you don't know how to work with anyone in this room."
There's just nothing worse than being in a show with a bad director. There's nothing more upsetting and frustrating.
So I recorded a podcast yesterday about like diversity in theater and that's a whole
Yeah.
conversation in and of
Oh,
itself.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of the things that me and this person discussed was that like not only do you're fighting against as a person of color, as a queer person, you have the barrier of not only being the opportunities to get in shows and yada yada yada, but you also once you get in the room, you work with people who don't know how to work with you or don't know how
Mhm.
to create an
Mhm.
environment that feels safe or feels, you know, constructive, but like professional. Like you don't always get all those things at once, and it's
Yeah.
such a hard thing to do when it's like you have the job that you want. Maybe it's a passion project. Maybe you did it to as a resume builder. Maybe you did it for the check, whatever the case is. And it's like, but I have to really struggle through this show to make it to the stage, to get through it. And it's like sometimes that is not the best feeling as an actor. And I do like the idea as a director or producer, you're curating the environment that your actors are in to
Absolutely.
feel productive, which I think is so
Absolutely.
important. I think people don't talk about that enough.
Mhm. I feel like that is, in my experience, like, good direction for me, like, rehearsal processes and shows that have been successful for me is when I believe that 90% of a director's job is casting. So when you take casting very seriously and you cast the right people, that takes care of 90% of your job, and then the rest is vibes, and everyone should feel like they're in charge. You're not in charge, we are all responsible for this thing. We are all working together to make sure that this event feels artistically fulfilling, but also, you know, a rehearsal process should be transformative and not transactional. We should all leave a theater process with a brand new family, like theater family around us, because we all have to get through this together, but also that we have learned things about ourselves and our own capabilities by both the story that we're telling and the people that we surround ourselves with in the room. It's very, very important to me. I had to start every single rehearsal with having everyone breathe as one, you know? Everyone
Mhm.
checks in and tells us all, like, "What are you going through today? Where are you in your life journey?" And, like, we become a family, we become a team. It's like a team sport. Good theater is a
Mhm.
team sport. Even when you're doing something like Funny Girl, where there's clearly a lead and an ensemble, it doesn't matter. It's a team sport. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and also, like, shows like that, like Funny Girl, like, I can relate that to a little bit, like, Spring Awakening, I did twice, and one time I was Moritz, which was kind of like a solo, like, I'm in my own little world, and
Yeah.
to be honest, like, I loved the opportunity for sure. I have more fun when I did the second time when I was part of the ensemble. I'm like, "Oh
Mhm.
my god, I get to be in all the fun numbers. I get
Yeah.
to kinda create that, like, I'm not going to rehearsal by myself, I'm going with everyone else." It's just better. You just walk away feeling like, "Wow," like, I'm still friends. I mean, the first production of Spring Awakening I did, I'm friends with some of them, but not like the second one, like, we're all still so tight. Like, I literally live
Yeah.
with someone I met in that show currently,
Wow.
like, we have a group chat that we still, this was in 2019, by the way, so, like, the
Wow.
fact that we also text and, like, hang out and, like, my friend Adam, he's my roommate, not Adam Otis Rubin, but a different Adam, is, like, crazy to me, but it's like, when you create that environment where it is family,
Mhm.
those are the bonds that kinda, like, stick with you forever.
Exactly, and those are the best shows to watch, you
Mhm.
know?
The
Mhm.
chemistry is, like, undeniable between everyone, like,
Undeniable, and everyone
mhm,
cares, yeah. Mhm.
mhm. Alright, so let's get into Cats, the Jellicle Ball. So you guys
Okay.
just opened on Broadway.
Yes.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Also, your opening night fit, yeah,
Thank you.
that
I look like
was
an
very
evil
amazing.
kid. Thanks. Thank
I loved it.
thank you.
Um, what makes this version of Cats very different than, like, the traditional version of Cats that people know? Like, tell us, what is it? What is Cats, the Jellicle Ball?
Yeah, so Cat's the Jellicle Ball was the conception of it was created by Bill Rausch, one of the 2 co-lead directors, who, well, I guess let's back up even further. Cats originally was written by Andrew Lloyd Webber on a dare. He was dared by somebody. Can you take this book called Old Po? I'm gonna not nail this title, but it's like Old Possum's Book of Jellicle Cats or something like that. I'm so sorry to T.S. Eliot, but in England, this book of poetry, it's like Go Dog Go or Where the Sidewalk Ends or, Goodnight Moon, in America. It's a very, very popular book that parents read to children before they go to bed. And they were like, "Well, why don't you turn this into a musical?" And so they did, and in the workshops of it and the rehearsals of it, they slapped on this very loose story that maybe each of the cats, they're competing for, um, to become the Jellicle choice, which means that they get to go to the Heaviside lair, which means that they get to come back for their next life, because all cats have 9 lives. But if you read this book of poetry, it's literally just, you know, all these different cats and poems about these cats. And the
Mhm,
real amazing thing about Cats when it opened in 1982 is that it was a giant spectacle. It was the musical that ushered in, like, there would be no Les Mis or no Phantom or Miss Saigon or these huge, huge epics without Cats. I mean, the tire that rose up to heaven that carried Rosabella in that original production, they were all in these, like, full cat outfits. It was a spectacle, and you came to Cats to see this giant spectacle. But in the 90s, we really made this switch in musical theater where you can kind of track it. Like Rent was sort of the beginning of this, where musicals that were just purely spectacle, that were just like come and have a good time, we're not really in fashion. We became much more of like a smart audience. We wanted things to mean something. We wanted there to be some sort of purpose, like even Hairspray, which is such a good time. I mean, there definitely is a whole racial plot to that piece, and it actually has something very deep to say, you know? And so Cats over time just became more and more and more and more of a joke. And it was kind of a joke when it came out, but as we got these really intelligent musicals, the fun homes of it all, the spring awakenings, the next to normals, shows like Cats, which was like it's just a spectator sport musical, really became a punchline. And then really the movie version of Cats in 2019 really like in the coffin of what Cats is, like, where people were like, "What the hell is this show?" But Bill
Mhm.
Rauch had this idea um, that really the show the show is a competition. It's a competition, the show, and the name, the whole show takes place at the Jellicle Ball, which is very, very ballroom coded, very ballroom, like the Harlem ballroom scene. So he in his mind very brilliantly put the 2 together and brought on Jalen Livingston and then brought in this whole team, and we created Cats the Jellicle Ball, which essentially is the musical Cats, but done in a very New York City, Harlem ballroom scene. So using all of the vernacular and the aesthetics and the flavorings of what ballroom is to tell the story of Cats, which essentially is, there's all of these different categories, and at the end of the night, the main judge, Old Deuteronomy, chooses one of the cats that are competing to go up to the Heaviside Lair, which is in this version essentially is the outside world, just New York City, right? But you get to go outside and sort of become reborn. And the great thing about ballroom is that ballroom is very delusional. Like it's very delusional on purpose. It doesn't matter who you are on the outside. When you come to a ball, you could be whoever you want. And depending on the category you walk, the people that win are the people who fit that delusion the best. And it might not even be delusion. It might be exactly who they think they are, but it's not who the outside world treats them as. And that's what ballroom was created in the first place, you know. Crystal LaBeija essentially created because trans people, queer people were not being accepted, well, really anywhere, but especially in the pageant scene. And so ballroom became this place where othered people, minorities got to go and they got to feel beautiful and they got to feel like the extensions of themselves that they actually felt like they are. And so in this version of Cats of Jellicle Ball, Grisabella, spoiler alert, she wins and she gets to return back to the outside world, realizing that who she is in the ball is who she actually is in the outside world too, and she gets to leave with like all this confidence and courage and self-fulfillment that who she is enough. And that's the blessing of what ballroom is able to give to people of color, like that it doesn't matter how the cops treat you or how America treats you or how the government treats you or whatever. At a ball you can be royalty too, even if you're the poorest of the poor.
No, I think all that resonates with me as someone who saw the show,
Yeah,
back at Pack NYC. I have not seen it on Broadway yet. I need to, on
me
my list
too.
of things to do. But I remember just watching it like, wow, like so much joy, so much talent, so much just heart. Like that's really what I felt like. There's so much heart on the stage. I actually have never been to a ball, like which is
Mhm.
kind of sad. I need to like change that. But truthfully, there was like all the things that at least I've like experienced, like maybe like on TV, like watching Legendary or like little things from like Drag Race and like watching what is Paris is Burning, like with Crystal LaBeija and all these things. I'm like, wow, it like captures all of this into this like package that like is really relatable to anybody. And I
Yeah.
thought that was like the most surprising thing to me as like, sometimes when we do like these very like specific shows, like some people usually white people, like, "Oh, I that doesn't relate to me." But, like, looking around the room, everyone was having a great time. It was like it was a ball. Like, you were there, you were in the room, you were experiencing just the joy, which I really, really appreciated, and I
Amazing to hear.
yeah, it was like I will never forget, like, just, like, because I had one of the trying to think where I was sitting. It was like a balcony, but like on the
Mm,
floor, and I was like right in front. So I was like right in front, and I'm like, I can watch this show 20 times,
yeah,
I'm like, let me instead of going to the bar, I want to come here. I want to have my drinks at this table
yes,
right here. I just want to have a good time every single night because it
I
was
love
so
that.
good.
This is so good to hear.
So the yeah, it was beautiful show, beautiful. With the ballroom culture, like in this specific context, I'd be interested to know, like, what do you think as a cast, as a creative team, like, has been important to like protect, like, from ballroom in this new like Broadway context?
I mean, it it was super, super important to the creative team that if if a decision that we made was true for musical theater, it also had to be true for ballroom too. That every moment had to speak to both worlds because we really were creating something brand new. That it is a ball, but it's also a musical theater too. It's also Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical. So it was really, really important that we keep those two. Um, and is the word symbiosis, I guess, that they were just like yeah, sure, in collaboration with each other. The other associate director, Naomi Allure Stewart, who is legendary, and is a part of the ballroom scene, one of her main tasks was making sure that everything felt authentically ballroom, that everything
Mhm,
was honoring the culture, and that we weren't just I mean, look, we live in a capitalistic country where
mhm,
a lot of times the whites will take something from a culture and they'll exploit it for money and they won't be precious about they will just exploit. And ballroom is pretty hot right now. I mean, right before Cats opened at the Pack, Beyonce's Renaissance came out, which was
mhm,
full of ballroom vernacular. And, Madonna has Vogue, which is very popular, and the show Legendary on HBO, and the show Pose, so ballroom was pretty popular. And there was a very large chance, just based on American history, that this would be another example of something that took from a culture and exploited it for
yeah.
capital. And we were very, very determined not to have that happen.
I love that answer. Do you think there's anything that's been surprising with audiences reacting to like the combination of like this new thing from show to show?
Um, I I just I'm just surprised that this idea had not happened sooner. I'm surprised that it's just like one of those ideas where when you watch it, you're like, "How did I not think of this idea?" It's such a brilliant, brilliant idea. But I also think if you have never experienced ballroom before or don't know anything about it, haven't seen Paris is Burning, never been to a ball, um, I think if you go and see the show, you will understand it still. The choreography and the way people move and the attitudes about everything, you can still completely understand what is happening and able to understand ballroom culture. I really feel like our team did an amazing job at layering in ballroom with musical theater so that they both truly speak together as one.
And then you've been a part of the show since like for workshops and everything. What what has been like to like and I obviously you have like an interesting path because you were in the show and now you're directing the show or what is it, resident directing
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah, like, I'm on the directing like
On the directing team,
yeah, sure.
what has it been like to see it grow from, like, start to, like, now? Like, was this in your, like did you like, "Oh, I hope this goes to Broadway, like, this needs to be what the show people see," or was it like, "We'll see,
Yeah.
like, where this goes," like, you never know?
I think the in the workshops and rehearsals for the Pack, nobody really knew what it was Bill and Jalen knew what we were doing, but they were also just taking a risk. Uh,
Yeah.
the show, it was a risk, and we didn't really know what we had until the very first audience, until the invited dress rehearsal at the Pack. The actors didn't even know too. I remember specifically at the end of the very opening number at the Pack, the first audience, they all hit their poses and the audience gave a minute and a half standing ovation for the opening
Oh,
number. And you can see the
beautiful.
eyes on the actors just like, "Oh, oh, I totally
Mhm.
get what we're doing now. This is a ball." And that's when we understood what we had. I knew immediately from that moment it was going to Broadway. I really did.
Mhm.
It just made so much sense. And I think I'm part of a lot of productions that have said that, everyone hopes like, "Oh, maybe this will go to Broadway," but it's just like Bill and Jalen really created something that is so inevitable that people really need to see. And also, the thing that has developed over time that surprised me the most is the Trump presidency, which honestly is the best thing that could have happened to Cats the Jellicle Ball. Because in 2024 at the PAC, when it was a Joe Biden presidency, it was like, wow, what an amazing spectacle this is. But now in 2026, where trans people are just being criminalized every day for something, for absolutely no reason, and people are calling it scripture. To see a black trans woman who plays Grisabella win the Jellicle Prize and be victorious, it feels like an act of war.
Yeah.
It feels like exactly the America that we wish that we believed in, where it's like, who cares who this person is? Or what their gender is, or who they have sex with, or what their name is, or what they say that they are. It's about who that person actually is. It's about the content of their character. And that makes Cats the Jellicle Ball more than just an amazing spectacle. It makes it a very emotional and important and current and relevant piece of art. And that changing that over time being changed is like, you know, very, very, very special.
Yeah. I could imagine, like, yeah, you see almost like the theme of the show almost like shift because like
Yeah.
it's one thing to be in this like Biden, which it wasn't okay, like fine,
Yeah.
like well to live in. It was fine. Not like not amazing, but like it was better than now for
It was
sure.
something we
And like
did.
yeah, it was something that happened.
Yeah.
And like even now with like Trump's presidency and like again like the attack on trans people of color and the fact that there can be a show that kind of like pushes against all of that and like people are flocking to see it because it's such an amazing show. Like I think that this is and it's in like Cats like Trump's I don't know if this is his favorite show, but he liked
No, it
that
is.
show.
It
Yeah.
is his favorite musical. They play "Memory" for him at the White House when he's in a bad mood, the Betty Buckley version. He loves Cats.
We should get your Grisabella to go and
Would
no.
love, would love. Yes, that'd be fab.
He might have a heart attack. I don't know. I don't
God bless.
know.
Let's hope.
Thankfully.
Yes,
Um, is there like a specific moment for the show that like hits for you every single time, no matter how much you see it? It's
yes.
like every mm,
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. It is when Grisabella finishes singing "Memory" and she gets a standing ovation every single night that lasts for a long time. And you can just see in everybody's face as they are clapping. It absolutely is Tempest Chastity Moore's performance of "Memory," but it just feels so good to clap for a Black trans woman in 2026. It just
mhm,
feels so good to, like, give a Black trans woman who is arguably at the very bottom of the totem pole, the social totem pole in America. So good to give them a standing ovation and to clap and to feel like, you are worthy. We see you, we love you, we appreciate you. It makes me emotional every single time.
Mm, I love that. Why should people come see this show? Like, just like a last few words about Cats. Like, if people don't know about it, they have not heard about it. If they're like on the fence, of like, oh, that feels a little different than like what I know Cats as. Why should they come see it?
Because there isn't a show that's better on Broadway right now than Cats the Jellicle Ball. There isn't a show
Right.
that is, more of a spectacle. You know what? Andrew Lloyd Webber, say what you want about the man, but he also knows how to write a damn song. Those tunes are catchy as hell. It'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, it will inspire you. And it's more than just a spectacle, you know? It will empower your heart. You will leave changed and with a smile on
Yeah.
your face. Mhm.
I can attest to that, and I saw it, I don't even know when, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
something like that, and I can't wait to see it again because my heart needs to be empowered to I wanna clap for Grisabella at the end too.
Yes, period.
Alright, so before we go, I wanted to do some, like, quick rapid fire
Yeah.
questions with you.
Heck yeah.
Um, Number 1, dream show that you love to direct? If
Rent.
someone was like Rent.
Rent.
Also,
Rent.
I have
Rent.
to say, like, we talked about Rent before we started.
Yeah.
Literally, I love Rent. It's literally my favorite show
It's so good.
ever. It's yeah, I did it once, and that was like,
Who are
it's a
you?
show that as a performer, I actually got to play Mark. It was a whole thing, but like,
Wow, cool.
I
Come
was
on,
very
Black
happy
Mark.
with that. I know that's what
Yes.
we called it. Me and my friend were like, I'm Black Mark. Like, okay.
Yes. I love it. You're kind of
But
wearing
truthfully,
the Mark sweater too.
honestly, I am.
Those
Yeah, it's
red and
like,
white
I'm
stripes. Yes.
giving Mark right now. But
Yep.
truthfully, I remember doing it and like the idea, and it was something that like I think when you cast people of color in roles that aren't traditionally of people of color, like people think like, oh, like colorblind casting, whatever. But to me, like it's always like actually like as a person, I felt different telling the story than I've ever seen someone tell the story.
Mhm.
Cause I really had only seen Jordan Fisher play Mark as a black
Sure.
person.
Sure.
And I just remember being like, actually like, this white man telling the story of the AIDS epidemic it's very different when it's a black person telling the story of the AIDS epidemic and what's happening to the people around them. And like I even remember I talked about this yesterday on the podcast too. Which is funny, I say yesterday, but you guys are gonna hear it like it's yesterday. But I was like there was a certain kinship that I felt with Joanne specifically during
Mhm.
the show too. And like because she was a black woman and I was a black man and like me, Joanne, and Colin is like as the three black people and like leading the show too. Like Roger was still white, but like I just remember being like, there's a relationship through line here that I've
Yeah.
never seen before that I'm
Yeah.
really enjoying. Like
Yeah.
I there was one day even the director is like, you guys feel too friendly. And I was like, oh, like why do you feel friendly? Like I love her, of course. Like I'm like, actually no, that's the character I want to play. I don't want to play like this like, nerdy white guy who
Mhm.
is unsure. Like I'm just interpreting this differently because I'm a different person playing
Yeah.
this role. So that was like something that I really got out of
I
that.
love that.
So mhm.
That's
One of my
amazing.
what's your favorite song from the show?
My favorite song
Sure.
from the show, probably
Uh,
Out Tonight.
okay, Alternate is amazing. That
And
makes
so
sense. Like getting to know you like during this podcast, I'm like, you're out tonight. Really, I
Oh,
love
yeah.
it.
Love. Love.
I grew a love for Contact. That was like my favorite to perform.
Yeah, I love Contact too, especially when
That was
done right. Contact can be very interesting. Yeah.
I didn't even know I was in the show because I only seen the movie. So when I
Mm,
saw the live
mm.
version, I was like, "What is
God, that
this?"
movie, crazy. Yeah.
Another rapid fire question. I know that was not very quick. What does Broadway need more of right now?
So Broadway needs to decide whether it's for tourists or whether it's for the elites. It needs to decide which one it is. And the correct answer is that it needs to be for the people. And the only way to do that is to make it more affordable. And because it's not affordable, the only people that can go and afford to see it are usually from one demographic, which is the heterosexual straights. the heterosexual straights, obviously, the heterosexual whites. Um, and so a lot of the shows that we're seeing on Broadway are catered to that. Or it's catered to tourists from Ohio who will come and they're walking through Times Square and someone will come up to them and they're like, "Oh wow, they made a movie? I mean, they made a musical based off I grew up with, you know? Oh, let's go see that." And so we get just a lot of shit on Broadway. We get a lot of shit and every year there's like one all the plays slap. The plays on Broadway slap. Because if you're a play and you make it to Broadway, it's probably an A plus play, you know? But it's then in that case, it's full of celebrities and not actually actors that are auditioning for it. But that's a whole other story in and of itself. But if it's a musical, it's usually good. I would say 9 out of 10 times the original musicals that open on Broadway are like not good. So I think we need to start making more Broadway musicals for the people and figure out how to make it affordable and how to make musicals. You know, when musicals were invented, the point of musicals were that they took the popular music of the day and turned and took a story. And so it felt like the type of music that you were buying from stores or buying on vinyl or listening to the radio. And at a certain point, musical music started sounding musical theatery. There's like a musical
Yeah.
theater sound to music now, which is like super duper cheesy and tuneless and all kind of the same. So I think what we need is like we need to fix the business model of Broadway, and we also need to make musicals cool again. We need to make it
Mhm.
awesome again.
Yeah, and I
Mhm.
also will say, like, just because it was, like, make it modern doesn't mean jukebox musical.
Correct. Correct.
Like, I don't
Yes.
I Moulin Rouge is great, but, like, firework,
Moulin Rouge is
mm-mm.
like the greatest cruise ship show I've ever seen. Yeah. Broadway musical, maybe not, but
Here. Alright, and then last question, moment in theater that changed your life?
moment in theater that changed my life. I think watching Audra McDonald get on her hands and knees and snort a line of cocaine off of the floor in Porgy and Bess. I think I think watching the greatest musical theater actress of all time go to a 13 out of 10 level that I had never seen in my life before, I that moment was so impactful for me, of what there's something so visceral about watching someone do something live, you know? It's like why, like, horror plays on Broadway, they feel so scary because 'cause you're watching it live in person, but watching someone, like, abuse their body and do drugs and, like, it just, like oh, the ickiness that you feel, and I think about that maybe, like, once a week. Truly once a
Mhm,
week of, like, the power of watching someone do something insane in front of you and you being in the same room for it, really, really impacted me. Yeah.
mhm. I never gotten to see Audra in anything but Gypsy, but it was amazing. I walked away like, "Wow, I just
Yeah.
got to see that performance." So,
Yeah, she's pretty dope. Mhm.
mhm. Where can people find you if they want to find out more information about you? If they want to look more into Cap's Jellicle Ball, where can they find you?
You can find me at Cooper Howell Directs on Instagram and Threads, and Cooper Howell on X. Also, Cooper Howell Directs on TikTok. Working on my website right now, so that's not up and running yet. But you know, and then come see Cats the Jellicle Ball, please. Do yourself a favor and come watch American history unfold at the Broadhurst Theater 8 times a week. That's where you can find me.
Here, I appreciate you so much for coming on. This is so awesome. I feel like it was such a good conversation. Do you have
Yeah.
any last words? Any last words? Anything you want to leave anyone with?
Yeah, that everyone is the sum total of every thought they've ever thought about themselves. And if you have a dream and you feel like you're capable of something and theater is your dream and you really feel deep inside that that is what you are meant to do, don't let life get in the way. Like you force life to make your dreams come true, and don't let life dictate what you're capable of. Buy into your dreams like a pit bull and never let go, and they will come true.
Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Your typical podcast. Your typical podcast.